This video will be an analysis of the guitar and bass parts that are present during the verses of the song. A tab sheet of each respective part will briefly be displayed at the end of its analysis. A brief demo of all parts combined will be featured at the end of the video. The tuning used in this video and on the record is standard E and 440 wavelength calibration. The verses are going to follow a 6-measure long progression, and what this is a 3-measure long pattern that will be played twice. We're going to start out by playing a standard G major chord. We're not going to play it as a G major chord. I'm just doing this to illustrate the G5 that we're going to use instead. Okay, the middle finger should be on the low E string at the 3rd fret. The first finger should be on the A string at the 2nd fret. The third finger should be on the B string at the 3rd fret. And the pinky should be on the high E string at the 3rd fret. What we're going to do is we're going to play a G5 instead. We're just going to lift that first finger up and leave the other 3 fingers right where they're at. And we're going to flatten that middle finger slightly just so it's touching the A string and dampen it out, just like this. That note shouldn't be ringing, it should be clicking just like that. We're going to start out with 2 eighth notes counted 1 and we're going to pick them both down like this. 1 and. Okay, notice that we're picking down on the and beat, and that's because we're going to mix in 16th notes. When you start playing 16th notes, the upbeat actually becomes a downbeat. You're going to pick up on the E and A beats. It wouldn't be incorrect to play it like this either. 1 and. It's just easier to use downstrokes here. So on 2 we have an 8th note rest that's dotted, which is a 3/8 of a measure rest. And on the A beat right after 2, we're going to do another upstroke, but we're going to go to a D major / F sharp chord. What this is a standard D major is played like this. We're going to take our thumb and drape it over the E string, the low E string, on the 2nd fret. That's an F sharp note. The 3 notes that make up a D major chord are D, F sharp, and A. This is basically the 3rd note of the scale. So what that is D, first inversion. That's what the D / F sharp means. We're going to pick this on the A beat upwards. Now we're going to follow it with 2 more 8th notes picked down on 3 and. So here's what we have there. And 3 and. So right from the start with the 4-count lead in, this is what we're going to have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, a 3 and. Okay, on 4 we have another dotted 8th note rest. So on the A beat, the last 16th note of the 1st measure, we're going to go to an F major bar chord. We're going to lay that 1st finger across the 1st fret, so we're barring all 6 strings. We'll place the 3rd finger on the A string at the 3rd fret, the pinky on the D string at the 3rd fret, the middle finger on the G string at the 2nd fret, and of course the 1st finger is barring the B and high E strings. We're going to pick this up on that last A beat as a 16th note, and we'll start out the 2nd measure with 2 more 8th notes picked down. So with the 4-count lead in, I'm going to do that much so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and. And on 2, we've reached another dotted 8th note rest. So on the A beat right after 2 in that 2nd measure, we're going to go to a C major chord, okay? And this is C / E, which means the 1st inversion, okay? E is the lowest note of the chord instead of C, the root note. We're going to repeat that pattern. We're going to pick up on the A beat, and we're going to follow that with 2 more 8th notes on 3 and. Okay, and we're going to progress from there to this chord here. I'm not sure what the name of it is. E flat major 7th. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. We're going to take that first finger and bar the A and D strings at the first fret. We're going to take that third finger and bar the G, B, and high E strings at the third fret, and it'll sound like this. Okay, so with the 4-count lead in, I'm going to play what we have so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2. Okay, now to finish up the third measure of the pattern. On the beat right after 2, we're going to play this chord 3 more times in the same manner that we have been playing. Okay, we'll pick it up on the beat and 2 downstrokes on 3 and we're going to close up that measure by going to an F5 power chord. That's where the first finger is the root note on the low E string at the first fret, and the third finger is on the A string at the third fret. The pinky's on the D string at the third fret. We're going to do 4/16 notes, counted 4 Iana, pick down, up, just like this. 4 Iana. So with the 4-count lead in, let's run through the entire process one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, and a... We're just going to play these 3 measures twice. When you reach the... We're just going to play these 3 measures twice. When you reach the repeat sign at the end of the third measure, it just sends you back to the repeat sign at the beginning of the first measure for a second pass of these 3 measures. Guitar 2 is going to follow the exact same pattern as Guitar 1. We're going to accent with the chords being played on Guitar 1 using the same count and picking technique. The difference is we're going to use root 5 power chords instead. Also, instead of taking a dotted 8th note rest on the 2s and 4s, we're going to fill it in with a series of 3/16 notes, counted 2 Ian or 4 Ian, pick down, up, down. Okay, what a ghost note is, we're just going to lay our fingers across the strings and pick them to produce a click like this. 2 Ian or 4 Ian. All it is noise. There's really no definitive musical tone or quality to it. We're just making noise to fill it in. We're going to start out with the G5 power chord where the first finger is the root note on the low E string at the 3rd fret. We'll progress from here to a open D5 power chord where we're going to play the open A and D strings along with these 2 notes that we're fretting. We'll progress from there to the F5 power chord. That's where the first finger is the root note on the low E string at the 1st fret. We'll progress from there to the C5 power chord. That's where the first finger is the root note on the A string at the 3rd fret. We'll progress from there to the E flat major 7th chord being played on Guitar 1. That's where the first finger is barring the A and D strings at the 1st fret, and the 3rd finger is barring the G, B, and high E strings at the 3rd fret. And we'll finish up the pattern by going back to the F5 power chord and playing 4/16 notes exactly like Guitar 1. With a 4-count lead in, let's just run through this progression in all 6 measures one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a... Guitar 2 will just play through these 3 measures twice. when you reach the repeat sign at the end of the third measure, it just sends you back to the repeat sign at the beginning of the first measure for that second pass. In total, you have 6 measures. During the verses, the bass line is going to play 3 measures that get repeated 1 time. That's 6 total measures. We're going to start out by placing the middle finger on the low E string at the 3rd fret. This is a G note. The first 2 notes are going to be 8th notes, counted 1 and, picked down and up. And on 2, we're going to encounter a dotted 8th note rest, which means to rest for 3/8 of the measure. On the beat, which is the final 16th note of the second quarter, we're going to place that pinky on the D string at the 5th fret and pick that up. On 3, we're going to play an 8th note, pick down, with the 3rd finger going to the D string at the 4th fret. And on the and beat right after 3, we're going to play another 8th note, picked up, with the pinky going to the A string at the 5th fret. On 4, we encounter another dotted 8th note rest. So with the 4-count lead in, here's what the first measure sounds like so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, a 3 and. And now we have reached the second measure. We're going to begin by placing the first finger on the D string at the 2nd fret. We'll begin by playing the final 16th note of the first measure. This is the beat picked upwards, and that's with the finger right there on the 2nd fret. Now for the second measure, the middle finger goes to that same string on the 3rd fret. We're going to play 2 8th notes, counted 1 and, picked down and up. On 2, we're going to encounter the same dotted 8th note rest as the previous measure. On the beat, which is the final 16th note of the second quarter after 2, we're going to pick that same note where the middle finger is, upwards. Okay, on 3, we're going to go back to the first finger on that same string at the 2nd fret and pick this down. That's an 8th note. On the and beat after 3, we're going to go with the middle finger to the A string at the 3rd fret and pick that up. That's another 8th note. And on 4, we encounter that same dotted 8th note rest as the previous measure. So with the 4-count lead in, this is what the second measure will sound like. And remember that as part of the 4-count lead in, I'm going to add in the final 16th note of the first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4. Okay, now let's try both measures in sequence right from the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4. Now we have reached the third measure. We're going to begin the third measure by finishing up the final 16th note of the second measure, and that's with the 3rd finger on the A string at the 5th fret. This is the beat. We'll pick that up. Now on the third measure, we're going to take the pinky and go to the 6th fret and play 2 8th notes, counted 1 and, pick down and up. On 2, we encounter the same dotted 8th note rest that we encountered in the previous 2 measures. On the final 16th note of the second quarter, we're going to go with the first finger to the 1st fret on that A string and pick this up. On 3, we're going to take the middle finger and go to the D string on the 1st fret and play 2 notes, counted 3E, picked down and up, the first of which is a 16th note followed by an 8th note on E. And on the final 16th note of the 3rd quarter, we're going to go back to the 1st finger on the A string to 1st fret, pick that up. So with the 4-count lead in, this is what the third measure sounds like so far. And when I give the 4-count lead in, remember that I'm going to add the final 16th note of the previous measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1 and 2, a 3, Okay, now to finish up the third measure, we're going to play 4 16th notes, counted 4 and. We're we're going to take the middle finger and place it back on the D string at the 1st fret. We'll pick that down on 4. On the E beat, we're going to slide up to the 3rd fret. Okay, we didn't pick that note, it was sounded by the left hand. So once there, we'll play that note 2 more times on the ANDA beats, pick down and up to finish up the measure. So with the 4 count lead in, let's just do all 3 measures in sequence one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3 and 4, a 1 and 2, a 3, a 4, you know. Let's run through all 6 measures in sequence just one time. I won't count aloud as I play, I'm just going to give you the 4 count lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The verses will appear twice in the song. The first appearance will be at 28 seconds. The second will be at 1 minute and 42 seconds. We're just going to play through these first 3 measures twice. You notice at the end of the 3rd measure there's a yellow highlight. That's a repeat sign. On the first pass through these first 3 measures, what that'll do is send you back to the beginning of the first measure where the other repeat sign is for a second pass through those same 3 measures.